Hey guys, in this video I'm going to dress up this Proline Brute Bash body with an awesome graphics kit here. This is called the Ripper kit. It is in the American USA flag theme and it's got some metallic flake embedded into it. So stay tuned and we'll get this going. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just clean up this new body. I do see that I've already apparently put some taillight stickers on this thing and some headlight stickers. So we're just going to clean around that. Just going to take some isopropyl alcohol, put it on a clean rag, and just go over the body. Now, this body's brand new, so I don't need to go crazy on it. I'm just going to try and get rid of some of the dust and maybe some of the oils from my fingers that are on the body. Okay, let that dry for a couple minutes here. Just going to go over a couple of the tools I'm using. Probably one of the most important things is you're going to need a heat gun. I've got a felt tip squeegee. If you can't get your hands on one of these, you can take a dry, clean, soft rag and sort of just wrap it around like this, okay? Now, this is Adhesion Promoter. I happen to have it in bulk, but what you can do is buy the 3M Primer 94 pens. I'll put that up above here. You can get that on Amazon. They're relatively cheap. And what that is just a liquid that you apply to certain areas that increases the bond. And that comes in very handy on these unbreakable bodies because they are a very, very low surface energy plastic. It will stick without it, but if you plan on bashing really, really hard, and this isn't just a show body, you may want to look into just grabbing one of them. So I'm going to set these things aside here. Let's set the body aside and we'll go over the kit real quick, okay? So the kit, I'll hold it up here so you can see. It does have a diagram here that shows you which parts to install first and sort of an order of operations. And this is important because if you were to just start grabbing stickers and putting them on the body, you really don't know where the centerpieces are going to line up, if they're going to overlap. You really don't want them to overlap because then you got to get in there and you got to trim them with your X-Acto knife. That's no fun. So I'm just going to take a look at the diagram here. And it goes over the 3M Primer 94 pen and it tells you, to apply the stickers to the dried surface that's been prepped with the alcohol. And over on this side shows an order of operations. And the first thing we need to do is install all parts shown in green. Well, the parts shown in green happen to be the sides here up to the front fenders. So that's what we're going to do. Okay? There's two ways you can do this install. One is a wet application and one is a dry. When it comes to these unbreakable bodies, because they are such low surface energy, you can really get away with installing a lot of the pieces dry. And this is because you can lift them up and put them back down without the adhesive sort of staying behind and ruining the very nice final finish look of it. Some of the bigger pieces are I still think gonna be better to install with the soapy water mixture. So I'm gonna grab my soapy water mixture, and when I come back we're gonna get this bigger side piece installed. Then we're gonna do some of these smaller pieces dry and see how that goes. Okay, so I'm gonna take my prepped body here. So we can get ourselves situated. And we're going to start by installing this piece here. So I've taken, what is this, about a 32 ounce bottle. I've put some tap water in it and about, I don't know, 6 or 8 drops of dish detergent, like Dawn. So I'm going to just spray this down. Okay. And I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and I'm just going to pull the sticker up off the sheet. And I would like to preface this with my hands are clean. I don't have any dirt in my hands. I've already taken the step to clean them. And I'm going to just spray the sticker down like that. And now I can touch the sticker and it's not sticky yet. Okay? So I'm going to just sort of get this into place, and because we're doing the wet apply on this, you can slide it around and lift it up, and it sort of stays, but it doesn't stick yet. I'm going to run this down here. Just going to sort of try and get myself oriented here with how this is going to go down. Now the instructions state that you need to leave a gap all the way around the graphics. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to leave about a 16th, a heavy 16th, or an 8th all the way around, okay? Now one of the things I'm already noticing is my gap between this body panel and the graphic here is a little heavy, so I can see that I'm going to have to heat this up and stretch it just a little bit. I've had this graphic set sitting around for a little while, and I'm finally getting time to do this. And generally what happens with these products is they will shrink a little bit over time when they sit. That's normal. This piece here, because it's thicker this way, didn't shrink quite as much. And you can see that it's lining right up with the cab, the back of the cab, just like it's supposed to. Okay? I need to add some heat to this, because you can see how rigid it's sort of acting here. And once I do that, it'll be much easier to handle. Okay? So I'm going to come back with my finger, just sort of swipe my thumb down like this. And you can use your thumb like this, if you like, to get the water out and the bubbles. It's not imperative that you use the squeegee on small areas like this. In fact, it's not very easy to do that. But what you'll find is, as this starts to cool, it becomes harder for it to stick and lay down. So you need to go back and reheat. So I'm just going to get that lined up like that. I'm going to come back with my heat. Now in this part here, I'm going to use the squeegee to sort of set that down right there. Looks like I'm pretty good here. Looking pretty good. Just looking at the door handles here. I'm putting this graphic right over top the door handles. If you want to call them that, they're sort of just embossed areas. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit more heat here. I'm just going to use my thumb to sort of settle that wrinkle right there. You can see it did just that. Okay. Use my thumb right there in that back cut, and I'm just going to slowly try and begin to work this up and around this fender like that. Got a little air bubble here, so I'm just going to pull back a little bit. There we go. Just like that. You can hear it's starting to stick already, which is good because it's starting to dry. So now that I have it in place, you can continue on without having to do the wet apply. So I'm going to sort of just lay this down like that. Okay? So we're in place, and the rest of it at this point is just working out the details. Like right here, I'm going to work some of these air pockets out. Just like this. Add a little bit of water here just to help me get the air out as I go around. Again, I'm going to leave that gap there. I'm going to add a little bit of heat. Just like this. A little bit more heat. And I'm stretching this with my hand just a little bit to keep that gap there nice and even. Okay, I'm going to come back. There's a little bit of a valley right here. I'm just going to make sure I have all my air pockets out of that valley. I'm going to push the top pin down. I'm going to come back down here. Looks pretty good. I don't see any problems. Now we're going to try and get this down. And for some of these bigger, flatter edges, I'm going to come back to my squeegee and just go like that. I'm going to use it here over this big sort of beveled edge. Okay. I need to get this lifted off. It's still damp there, so you can see I was able to lift it off really easily. This needs to be stretched just a little bit, so I'm just going to heat it up. Okay, and you can see I'm stretching it. Okay, you need to hold it with your thumb so you can heat it back up again. You'll feel it start to try to pull back as it cools. Heat it up again, and then come back and make sure it makes contact, and it will no longer pull on you. Okay, just like that. Add a little heat here. And we're just going to roll this up and mate it right to the bottom of that. Just like that, okay? So far, so good. Okay, so I've gone over this and gotten most of my air pockets out. What I'm going to do now is continue with this side installation. And I'm going to install this lower piece here. Now, because I can see the bounds of where this lower piece is going to go, I'm going to try and dry install that. Trying to dry install this entire big piece would be really hard, which is why we did the wet, so we could sort of get it in place. But now that we have a roadmap to where these pieces go, you can get away with this dry install process. Okay, so we're just going to pluck it off the sheet here. And you have to excuse me, this is hard to do when I'm sort of looking over top. So I'm going to just get it sort of in place on a linear edge like this. Now keep in mind, you want to leave yourself these gaps, okay? I've got like a 1/16 inch gap there. And you're just going to roll it into place with your finger. I need to lift it up really quick here and reset. You have 30 seconds or so to reset these before the adhesive really starts to bond on you. Okay, so I've got my top edge lined up here. I'm a little tight on the top edge because as I came down, I was overlapping on the lower edge just a little bit. So I have to make adjustments. And you can see I'm a little high on this lower rocker here. So I need to sort of, while it's still not completely adhered, push that down a little bit as I try to get these to kiss and not overlap. Just like this. Just like that. Right now they're kissing and there's a little bit of a ridge there because of the pressure. So I'm just going to add a little bit of heat. and that ridge should soften up and disappear, just like that, okay? That looks pretty good, I think. I'm going to inspect it here for some air pockets. I see one right there. It is difficult for me to do this with all the light from the lamps here as I'm video recording. I can't see the air pockets until I turn it away from the camera. So I just popped it with this, and it's gone. I don't see any others. There is a little bit of a channel here where the door channel is. So I'm going to heat that up just a little bit. Because what I want to do is I want to try and get this product down in that depression. That way no dirt and water can get in there once you're out bashing. Okay? That looks pretty good. So our side is coming together nicely. Let's do the windows next. I'm just going to pluck it off the sheet. Just like this. This is going to be a pretty easy install. Again, I'm going to leave my gaps. See how I'm hinging it up here? I'm going to take this and just go like that. So it looks like I got a little off center there. I'm within that 30-second time frame, so I'm just going to really quickly pull it out and try again. That's certainly one benefit of installing on these unbreakable bodies. Because they have such low surface energy as compared to, let's say, a Lexan body, you could not get away with that on a Lexan body. It would stick so well initially that you would have a residue left behind, or it wouldn't be left behind on the body, but what happens is the adhesive is so thick and aggressive that it sort of gets pits in it as you pull it up. So I'm seeing some air bubbles that I've got here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this back off. I'm going to leave it hinged just like that, and I'm going to spray it. And then I'm going to come back and do a wet install. Okay? So using that hinge method, I was able to get my position correct. The dry install didn't go so well. I hinged it back, sprayed it to give it some viscosity, and then I pushed it back down. I don't see a single bubble now. Okay? That worked pretty well. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing on this side. As easy as a dry install is, you can sacrifice, you know, the air bubbles a little bit more. So we're going to do a wet install here. Okay, I'm just going to heat this up just a little bit. And I need my squeegee. Here it is. Going to be a little tough to get this squeegee in here, but I think we'll get it done. There we go. Looks great. These windows are actually sort of designed to look tinted, but still contain the artwork. I don't know if you can see it on camera or not. Looks pretty cool. Okay? So according to the instructions, we need to come back and do the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed up the camera because you really don't need to see me do this all over again. And then we'll slow it back down to normal when we get on to other parts that aren't repetitive. Okay, so I have sped the film up here and done the other side. I see a couple little spots here that I just need to tighten up just a little bit. There we go. Looking pretty good. I see one more spot here. Great. Okay, so our diagram, let me set this to the side. Please stay. There we go. Our diagram shows us that we need to now install all the blue parts. So that means the rear bed sides, okay? So let's get started here. This is a pretty complex piece, so I am going to do another wet apply on that. Soapy water. And I'm going to pull the piece off. Okay. And I'm going to just spray that down. And let's get it lined up here. Again, just check the art. It should line right up. It's a good guide to get you started. Now there's a big recess right here. You can see there's a back cut here. So what that tells me is I'm going to need some pretty serious heat in there to get that to do what I want it to. So I'm just going to, this is sort of a fixed right here. I'm just going to run it back and check and make sure that that's good. Looks pretty good. Looks like my rear tail light has been sort of misplaced there. I'll probably need to take that off and reset that after I install this. You can see how this wants to sort of flail out this way. We're going to use some heat to bring that around. But all in all, it looks pretty good. So let's add some heat and get something fixed down here so it doesn't shift on us. Okay, grab my rag here. And I'm just going to use the rag to sort of get down in this groove. Got a little bit of a wrinkle in that. I'm just going to lift up and push it back down, okay? So I've got this fixed already. Let's work our way around this groove. What's nice about the rag is it's soft and conforms to that groove, unlike your finger. So you can really get down in there, okay? So now it's fixed. It's not going to move on me. And with that said, I need to stretch this piece just a little bit. So heat it up. There we go. Use your thumb. Okay. Looks good. Heat it up. Use your thumb. This piece doesn't really want to stick down, so I'm just going to get back on the underside and evaporate that water out, and it should stick the next time you push down. Okay. So now let's work our way up into here. Warm it up. Got a big groove right here. So we're just going to try and get that groove down first. I'm going to use my squeegee for the rest of it while it's still warm. Sort of press it out. Probably the toughest install of this entire Brute Bash body is going to be right in here. So now I'm going to work this wrinkle back up and out. I don't want to smudge it too hard because you'll get a little lift in the graphics and it won't form a nice even body line on the bed there, okay? Some of it you're just not going to be able to get around, and you may have to do some trimming there to level it. So I'm going to come up with my squeegee here, straight up and over, okay? Again, heat is your friend. Here we go. Once that's down, I'm just going to run my finger back, chase any extra water out that might be in there. What I am going to probably end up doing is coming back and just cleaning this edge up here. When you stretch and conform this with that much heat, it's inevitable that you're going to get some deviation in a nice clean line on the bed line. Nothing you can do about that. Once it's down and it's dry, like I said, we will come back and just clean that up a little bit, okay? Got a little bit of a water pocket stuck here, so I'm just going to take my X-Acto, pop a little hole, and use my thumb to push it out. Okay? Maybe come out this way. Here we go. Looks good. Okay, going to work our way back. Looks like I might just actually miss this light, which will work out fantastic. Going to heat this up. And this piece here is going to be just stretched a little bit and forced over in that area. Same with this. It's already wet. Just heat it up a little bit. And now I can really use my hands and work with it once it's warm. It's going to overlap a little bit at the bottom there. That's okay because we had to conform it around this fender. We'll come back and trim that up. That's not a big deal. Okay, let's force this down and back around just like that. Let's add some heat. Just like that. And we'll bring this bed rail right along. I'm going to dry the back of this little tiny bed rail piece here because I want it to make instant contact. It's too small of a piece to really work with a wet application. So I've made instant contact now because it was dry, and it's a lot easier to work it around that corner. You can see there's a back cut there for that corner. This product is so thick because it's designed for bashing. If I were to not make that back cut there, this would just have a big ripple right there. If you had a thin automotive wrap that wouldn't last a day, yeah, it could probably go around that corner, but you end up sacrificing the durability of the graphic kit. Okay? That looks pretty good. I really like that. I don't see any major issues. There's a couple little bubbles here. I'm just going to try and push them into one spot and give it a pop. Here we go. Looks good. Okay, I'm going to put this little piece in next here. That'll be a real quick and simple dry apply since it's so small. Okay, I'm just going to take my rag, make sure that's dry, and then I'm going to evaporate any extra moisture that might be there with the heat gun. Great, looks good. There we go. The side is really coming together nicely for us here. So just like the front half, I'm going to speed up the film and do the other half, and I'll be back with you as soon as that's done. Okay, so I just referenced my diagram, and what it's telling me is all pieces shown in the diagram in black need to go on next. And those pieces are the hood, the windshield, the roof, interior bed, and the back window. So I've decided to do the back window first because that's going to line up with these holes right here. And just looking at the diagram, that'll give me an indication as to where I need to set my roof line graphic. So the wet apply has been working really well for me. It's not quite as fast as the dry apply, but it does save me some time when it comes to getting the air bubbles out. So here's the rear window, and I'm just gonna get that sort of backspaced off those holes As you can see, that looks pretty good, okay? I'm gonna take my rag on this one, and I'm just gonna push that water out, starting in the middle, side to side, just like that, and that's pretty much done, okay? I'm gonna take my heat, just go back over it after I've softened it, sort of activated the adhesive a little bit, just like that. And I'm gonna go back over it one more time. Cool. Okay, now I'm gonna put this hood graphic on. So I'm gonna spray everything down. Okay, I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna just peel my hood graphic up. Here it is. I'm gonna spray it down. And we're gonna go ahead and install this. I'm gonna line this up with the graphic right here and right here. And then I'm going to check my art. You can see I've got a star right here. And that lines up. So I must be pretty close to where it needs to be. And being that it's wet, I can sort of just have a look here. Looks like that's pretty good. I can see I'm going to need to heat it on this side a little bit and maybe push it this way because this window is a little lower than this one. All things that come into play and you just got to work with on products like this. So what I want to do is fix the center portion down. I want an axis that's adhered so I can pull and push and work the sides out, okay? So I want to find my squeegee right here, and I'm just gonna go right down the center like that and right back like that, okay? Looks like I have ridges there, so I need a little bit more heat. So there's two little ridges that run like this. And what I want to do is just get my towel while it's really warm and soft and sort of just adhere it around these ridges and push the water back. Just like that. And if you find, like I'm doing right now, that the material starts to ripple on you, give it a few seconds to cool off and then try again. That's pretty good. I'm just going to do a little bit of a lift here with my X-Acto knife and give this thing a pathway for the moisture to come out. Just like this. And as it comes out, you can re-adhere that back part down. What you'll probably end up having to do with these ridges, if you're very particular, is letting this body cure overnight and bond. And if there's any residual moisture left in these channels, you can add some holes just by going like this and then forcing it, heating it up a little bit, then forcing it out. Because right now, the entirety of it isn't really bonded down. It's sticky, but the water can still migrate. So as you're pushing this out this way, some of the water is actually migrating this way. As this starts to bond, you'll be forced to make that water go a certain way. It can't migrate out anymore. Okay? You can see I got an issue here. So what I want to do is I want to heat this up, soften it. Okay? And I'm just going to take my hands and pull it over like this and stick it down. Now, you can feel it trying to pull back because it's cooling, so you need to reheat it or have a friend help you so you can keep that heat gun on it, okay? And you can see I've tightened that gap a lot. I want to stretch it just a little bit more, so I'm going to heat it up again. And I'm going to pull it and get as much out of it as I can, just like this. And that's going to lay down just like that. Notice I got my thumb on here. I'm keeping pressure on it so I can get the heat back again. And now that it's down, let me just get this fixed right here. Now that it's down, you can sort of get a little bit more out of it by going like this, okay? And if need be, you can come back and heat this and pinch this together as well. This has some moisture under it, so I'm just gonna dry this off and do an instant contact here. Just like so. Gonna hold it for a few seconds. There we go. Okay. Looks good. Now I'm gonna work this side a little bit here. Again, I can use my thumb while it's warm and sort of pinch it towards that door top to tighten my gaps up a little bit. Looks pretty good. I'm gonna have to come back and work on this spot a little bit more because I'm sort of a perfectionist with this stuff and I want to get that tightened up, which won't be a problem. Okay, what I'm gonna do here is dry this off with my rag and then evaporate the moisture off the vinyl to activate the adhesive and let this fall right down, keeping my gaps even. It looks pretty good. Still some moisture underneath there. There we go. Gonna run this back through here. That looks good. Looks good. Let's take a look at this spot again here. I think what I'm going to do is try and run the window side up a little bit this time. There we go. What you need to do is just keep working it as it cools. If it's still warm and you stop working it, it can shift back. It's when it cools and that adhesive hardens a little bit that it decides it wants to stay. You can see I've tightened that gap. Look at that, okay? Still a little moisture left in this skinny piece, which is benefiting me right now. Okay? You can see I've tightened that gap up quite a bit. Looks great, okay? So here we are. Looks good. And let's go ahead and get the windshield down. Just get this secured here. Great. Looks good. Looks good. Okay. We'll do a wet apply on the windshield. And watch our gap spacing here. Looks pretty good. Great. Easy one, huh? Okay. So the next thing we need to do is install the hood. So I'm going to spray that down just like that. And I'm going to come over here and just grab the hood piece off my sheet, flip it upside down, spray it down like that, and we're going to get it into place. I always love putting the hood pieces on. They really bring everything together. Now, one of the reasons you do the sides first is so that you can center the hood over top each side and get your gap reliefs as accurate as possible, okay? So let me just slide this like that. Just looking, that looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Looks like I need to just rock this back maybe a little bit. Like that. We'll end up stretching that a little bit. That looks pretty good. Looks tight there. And there's really no rush when you do this, as long as you use the wet apply. It's almost impossible for that water to evaporate out unless you squeegee it out. That looks pretty good. I'm going to fix the center down. Grab my squeegee. There we go. Just like that. Use my rag to sort of finish it off here. There we go. That looks good. There's a groove here, so I want to get that groove down first before we do anything on the sides. In order to do that, I'm going to need to heat it up. Just like that. And then we'll just push this down like so, okay? And stay on it until it starts to cool. And then do the other side. I'm going to go around here. Okay, so now we're going to work our way this way. Looks like there's just a little bit of a blem in the body here that's showing through the vinyl. I thought it was a piece of dirt, but it's actually like a little dimple in the material, so I wanted to check that. Okay, my hands are sticky on this vinyl, so I'm going to use this rag so it glides. Here we go. Right back. Okay. What I want to do is just give this a little bit of a stretch, and so that it makes instant contact, I'm going to dry it on the back and just pull it. I can spin this around so you guys can see. I'm trying to get this in that little nook there. There we go. This will require a little cleanup trim, but that looks pretty good. So now we'll come around to the front. I'll use my squeegee to sort of just set this down, just like that. Sure I got all the water out of there. Looks good. We'll work on these edges later after the water evaporates out. So we got a little bubble here. Here we go. And we'll do the same thing here. I'm going to do that dry apply and pull into position. Just like this. And we're going to do an overlap here. Okay, good. Okay, we need to warm it up. Take our rag, just go over it, and we'll force that water out the front, just like that. Looks great. I'll trim those pieces up at a later time. Just going to come back around here, get this sort of finished up and wrapped down. Here we go. Just like that. Looks good. So I think what we'll do next is the bed. Okay, so onward we go. Let's wet the bed. And I will pull off the first piece. Let's do the middle first. Here it is. We'll wet that down and we'll just lay it into place like so. Looks like I got some sort of a piece of sparkle in there. There we go. And what I'm going to do is not adhere that yet. I'm going to get the other pieces in and make sure everything aligns neatly before I adhere it down. Just like this. And same thing with this one. There we go. As you can see, that looks pretty good. I add some heat and then just use my squeegee and my cloth to get it down. Okay. I'm going to get the majority of it out with the squeegee. But because this is sitting in a valley, the water can't really move out unless it's absorbed. So I'm going to get the center down, then I'm going to come back with my cloth and soak up some of this water so it doesn't suck back in, just like this. Just like that. I need a little heat in there eventually. There we go. Come back with some heat. Looks good. Okay, that looks good. So here we are. Give you a quick view of the entire truck so far. Looking mighty fine. Okay. So I'm just going to look at my diagram here, and it wants me to do the tailgate next, which is right here. So let's get that sprayed down, and I'll come over here and peel this up like this, spray it down. Okay. That's pretty good. We're just going to center it. Okay. I'm going to add some heat to this. I'm going to take my cloth and just go over it like this. Looks good. And what I'm going to do here is peel this back just a little bit and sort of evaporate the moisture, because I've got a little ridge there where the tailgate latch is. And then we can just instant contact it like that. Looks good. Same thing here. I'm just going to evaporate some of that moisture out and then rock that into place. And the same thing over here. A little bubble there I need to push out. There we go. That looks great. So there's our tailgate, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so our next step is going to be the bed rails on top, a couple little pieces here and the front. Why don't we start with the front? Spray it down. And I'll pluck it off of my sheet here. Just like this. Get this turned around so you guys can see it. Spray that down. And we'll get this centered up here. It should line up nice and neat over there. It does, and it does. I'm a little hard on this side. So just go like this. I'm gonna need some heat here. Looks good. I'm just gonna work this right around over to here. And you can see the tolerance is tight, which is nice. Looks good. Just try and miss that headlight there a little bit. Looks good. Add a little bit of heat. That looks great. Okay. Now there's a piece that goes right here. So I'm going to pluck that off. So I'll come back here and I'll spray the front. Spray this. And we'll just line up his jaw there. Looks like I need to go this way just a little bit. That looks pretty good. Let's add some heat. And we'll squeegee that down. Finish it off with my rag. Just like that. Okay, so according to my diagram, the next piece we need to do is the bed rails here. And I've already gone and done this off camera, but I've just trimmed this upper corner here just a little bit to level this line out. And I did the same thing on this side as well. I just trimmed that to level that line out a little bit. And we'll see how it lines up with the upper bed rail pieces here. We may need to do some more trimming, but we'll know in a second. A lot of how this lines up depends on how much heat you use to roll this up in here. So if you do need to trim, it's not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. It's just part of the game when you install a thicker product like this. Okay, so I'm just gonna get this into place here, like so, and sort of just look and see where I'm at here. Those lines look pretty good, actually. Let's see. Back this off just a little bit. Maybe bring this up in here some. I like to keep pretty even gaps between my graphics. Oops. I think it looks a lot cleaner. That looks pretty good. This is a little heavy here. I'm going to trim this back just a little bit here. What's nice about the unbreakables is you can push really hard with your knife and get a nice clean cut, and you just can't hurt the body because it's so thick. And I'm just going to pull that off just like that and put this back and sort of get a picture of where I am. I think we need to trim this back just a little bit more. So I'm just going to get my X-Acto knife here, and I'm going to take another, oh, what is that, a 32nd? Just go right down a straight line with a steady hand, and then you can see That just pulls off like that. We'll set it aside. I'm gonna wet this down again and see how I'm looking now. Much cleaner line here. You can see I got a nice even line. Same thing on this side. I think what I'm gonna do is trim this back just a touch. Just like that. Looks good. Let's add some heat and get this rail down. Okay. I'm gonna just lift this up a little bit and just give it a little bit of a stretch here. And then reheat. Get my lines nice and tight here. That looks good. Okay. Take my squeegee and just get that water out like so. Okay, we'll lift this up. Get a look at where we are here. That looks good. I'm going to get this side down now. Just using my thumb to sort of go along that. Okay, and let's see how well. It's still damp. I'm going to hinge it up and just dry it off with the heat gun here so I can do an instant contact. Now that I have everything in place, that's better. I want to try and tighten this up just a little bit. So I'm going to lift this just a little bit here. Heat it up. And give it a little tug and a stretch to tighten those lines up just a little bit. That looks pretty good. That looks good. Just heat it up a little bit more. Tighten these lines up here. I'll come back and trim that. Just take my thumb right across. Looks like I got a little bit of an air pocket here. Just pop that, and I'll use the back side of the X-Acto to push it down, and that's gone. Okay, that looks good. I'm just going to heat it up a little bit, and we're going to fold this flap down. I'll turn the body up so you can see it. See if I can grab it right here. And we're just going to hinge this down just like that. Easy. Okay. Gonna go back through and inspect it, make sure I have all my bubbles out, and we're gonna do a final trim here. Let's see. Just like that. We'll pull that out of there. I think this side's pretty good. Yes, it is. Okay. This lip here needs just a little bit of heat to dry the moisture, and we'll roll it down and get them fixed on. Just like this. Okay, the next piece we need to do is right here, behind the window. I am going to install that dry because it's so thin. So I'm just going to line it up, maintain my gaps. I'm just looking down over the back side here. Okay. We'll come back in a second and heat that up some. For now I want to heat this up because I want to just stretch it just a little bit. There we go. And that's going to sit right down just like that. Now we're going to come back and do a mild heat while we just sort of roll it around this edge. Just like so. Looks great. Okay. I think the next piece we need to do is right back here in the bumper. Again, I think I'm going to dry apply that one because it's fairly thin and I can line it up really easy in the middle. So let's see if I can reach over here. I'm just going to line up that art. I'm going to get this started off camera because it's a little hard to see, and then I'm going to show it back to you guys. Pick it up and move it across, no big deal. That looks pretty centered there. Okay. Just need to get this centered off camera so I don't have to reach over. There we go. Okay, so we're back. And I got that centered. You can see the artwork lines up. And I'm just going to roll it right across here. It looks like I need to shift down just a little bit. Probably lift that up. Let's heat it up just a little bit and we'll get a 1/16 stretch out of it here. There we go. It's a bit of a nice tighter fit there. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I already put it down, but I'm just going to lift it up, heat it up, and I want to get a little bit of a stretch out of it. There we go. Maybe a little bit too much of a stretch. That looks pretty good. And there's the back piece. Okay? Okay guys, I've gone ahead and finished up on the rear pillars, and I did the front inner hood here, and it's pretty much complete. A couple things about the install on the Brute Bash or Unbreakable body. You want to let this sit for a couple days before you ride it. And the reason for that is because this product is so thick, it likes to curl up on the edge just a little bit if there's any residual moisture. And once that happens, if you get some dirt underneath there, it'll never sit back down for you. So leaving it sit maybe out in the sun on your porch or on the deck, the sun really cooks this and evaporates the moisture out. And that's a great way to get this to do its final bond. And after you've done that for a couple days, just come back over it and look at your edges and make sure nothing's curled up, okay? Like right here I can see there's a little ripple right there. I'm just pushing it down and I can see that it definitely went down. So that tells me that it's not bonded there. So after this couple days, just come back with the heat and do your final push down and your final bond, okay? There's really nothing else you need to do. You can shine these up with, after you wash it with like some Armor All polish. I know a lot of people do that to keep them shiny after they get scratched up. But this product is done, and you can find this at the link below. This is the Ripper Darkside Studios kit, done in a USA flag with a metallic flake finish. And it's available for, I think, $75 with free shipping in the United States, and I think international shipping is fairly cheap, under $20. So it's a great addition to your Unbreakable body, and after a couple years, you know, if it's starting to look pretty shabby, what's great about the Unbreakable bodies is what's underneath these graphics is still going to be good. So you can rip the graphics off, maybe put a different theme on there, or buy the same set again. It's up to you. But you just can't go wrong with a Pro-Line Brute Bash body on your X-Maxx. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them, and I'll see you next time.